Hello everyone and welcome to another Grassi University educational webinar. My name is Dominic Caminata. We appreciate tuning in. I'm joined by two amazing individuals that are really at the core of the Masterful presentations we create at Grassi University. One thing you'll hear us commonly say at Grassi University is by far the best close in the world is a Masterful presentation. And every contractor, every salesperson in the world loves the idea of a Masterful presentation. But if we're being honest with ourselves, a lot of people don't even know where to begin. And that's really the heart of this webinar today, this educational webinar. We're going to take a deep dive into the format and the art form of building that masterful presentation. We're going to show you how we can do all the heavy lifting for you, and very least give you a lot of tips, pointers, and strategies for creating that masterful presentation. So when your salespeople go into the house armed with this new product, this new tool, they can make the close the natural conclusion more often than not. That's really the name of the game. Now, in this industry, there's going to be a massive consolidation over the next few years where these massive private equity firms are going to come in and they're going to invest literally billions of dollars in technology and training. And some of the big things they're going to be investing in are going to be enhancing the presentations that they have so those sales armies can go into that house and of course deliver that masterful presentation, come out with the outcome they desire. So it's up to you right now to get ahead of the game, because Chuck in the truck is going to become extinct. Larry with the ladder is not going to exist anymore. And you can't be relying on being the only true professional company in your territory, because your competition is about to get a lot more trained, a lot more polished and professional. So we're joined by two experts in the industry. I got Cody Henson. He's our director of marketing, and he also runs our Jumpstart program at Grassi University, which is basically the heart of where we create these masterful presentations for our clients. And we're also joined by Pam, and she's one of the heads at Engage that helps clients develop that masterful presentation, and Engage is the premier software for housing that masterful presentation. So one thing Engage has heard me say many times is we know the best close in the world is the masterful presentation, and the best platform and software by far to deliver that masterful presentation is Engage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand it over to Pam. She's going to take us through a little overview of the masterful presentation itself, how Engage can help their clients develop that masterful presentation, and just some of the industry trends that are occurring right now, which literally point to you being the person that needs to make that investment to have this amazing tool for your team. So Pam, I just want to thank you for joining us here today. How you doing?
I am doing great, Dom. Good to see you, Cody.
Good to see you, Pam.
Yeah, so Pam, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your role at Engage, what Engage is all about, and some of the things that contractors need to be looking for when they get this masterful presentation created for them.
Yeah, happy to be here and happy to take you through some of this information. So Dom set it up beautifully. You really need to have a masterful sales presentation in order to compete in today's market. So that's what we're here for today. So we're going to cover first, I'm just going to introduce myself a little bit better to you and what we do here at Engage, and we'll get you an up close and personal look at Dom and Cody with their pictures. Then I would love to take everybody through a little bit related to the modern buyer and what's going on in the market today. What are the market conditions? What are the buyer conditions that are leading to this need for a masterful sales presentation? Then we're going to hand off to Cody to actually take us through what goes into creating that masterful presentation. And then finally, we'll wrap up and get on out of here. So our presenters today, Dom introduced you to himself and to Cody. I'm the Director of Marketing at Engage and am very happy to be here just walking you through how we help our customers. So what is Engage? Engage is the industry-leading sales presentation platform for home improvement companies. So we help home improvement companies to create dynamic, interactive sales presentations, share them with everyone who needs access to them, and then measure their impact through rich analytics on the back end of our platform. We are here to help our customers to close more deals at the end of the day. So Dom was talking a little bit about the market conditions with private equity coming in and snapping up a bunch of different companies, a lot of consolidation. That has been a huge trend over the last few years. But additionally, we have a different buyer today in the home improvement market. Our buyers are very different than they were 5-10 years ago, and we need to be prepared to meet their expectations. So the first point that I want to make sure everybody understands is that 43% of all home buyers today are millennials. These are digital natives. These are people who are under 40. They grew up alongside the internet. They grew up with PlayStations. They grew up with Game Boys in their pockets. These are really digital natives who are making purchases today.
And they all have neck problems from staring at their phones all day.
Yes, we do. We all have neck problems. Our elbows have tendonitis from holding our phones.
And hopefully they all have really great chiropractors that can straighten them out.
Yes, we do. We pay a lot of money for that. About 57% of the buying process actually happens before the sales appointment today. So you're talking to these digital natives. You're talking to millennials. They're on Google looking up businesses. They're doing their research. They're spending time looking at your YouTube channel, at your Instagram. They're spending all of that time online researching you before they even meet your sales rep in the home.
So Pam, if you don't mind staying on that stat for a second. So now, this is something I think that is incredibly important for salespeople to think about, because literally when you go into the house, more often than not, you have the upper hand. Because more than ever before in history, clients are doing their due diligence on you and their company, right? Yes. So in a way, they're already primed and ready to go. So for a salesperson to walk out with the outcome they desire, more often than not, that should be your minimum expectation. Because if I'm looking at this number here, about 60% of the time when you walk into that house, they're already considering buying from you, as long as you don't talk yourself out of the sale. So it's important for everybody to know.
Yeah, they're looking for a reason to say yes.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of an excuse to say no, right?
Exactly.
So now that should give a lot of salespeople a lot of confidence and make them really excited. So now what we're going to be talking about is, what are those tools necessary now? So when you go into the house, you're not giving them the reason to talk themselves out of that buying decision in a sense they already made before you got there. So yeah, amazing stuff there. That should make everybody excited.
Really should. And this stat should also make everybody in this industry very excited. 84% of millennial homeowners are doing home improvement projects, and 82% of them say they're more likely to buy a fixer-upper than something move-in ready. Now, a lot of this is because they can't afford to buy a move-in ready home, especially with interest rates the way they are right now and market conditions the way they are. But it's going to be a lot of renovation projects, especially over the next few years, as people move into these homes and discover what's wrong with them or what needs to change to fit their lifestyle. So this is a great stat that should really give you a lot of confidence in this industry.
And one thing I've seen in the last year, probably more so than we've seen historically, is people are selling their houses so effortlessly now that it's not like there's a lot of contingencies. It's basically like, you take what you get and you don't throw a fit. You know, it's like you buy it as is, or there's no deal at all unless you want to lose the house. So a lot of people that are
in some states, people are completely foregoing inspections. It's just
right. That's what I'm saying. It's wild out there. So a lot of sellers have a lot of leverage, but the people buying the houses are essentially going ahead and settling for the fixture upper because they know that the house is going to be bought up by somebody else if they don't pounce on the opportunity. Which therein lies the opportunity for us, because a lot of people are buying these houses knowing they're going to have to make the investment in home improvements or home services.
And if you think about it, a lot of millennials don't know how to do any of this work on their own.
Right.
They're going to need some help.
Yeah, they can't build tree houses like I can.
No, not like you can. So you've got this digital native buyer. Your homeowners are digital natives. Well, how do they learn best? They learn best through active learning. I think that we always think about the difference between active and passive activities. You want to give your homeowner that you're pitching to something active to participate in. In 10 to 20 minutes, people's attention starts to wane with passive learning. So if you are a sales rep walking into the house with just a pile of literature that's got a bunch of text on it, and you're literally reading it to a customer, within 10 minutes, they're completely checked out.
Yeah, spitting facts and figures and data at them. That's why, you know, when I first introduced Engage to my sales team, and this is going back quite a few years now, they were so excited because for the first time ever, they were able to make the whole presentation interactive. So I did a lot of training on asking questions, getting the customer talking, selling's not telling. But with Engage, they actually had the customer. So you see the buttons you're pushing on your screen right now to pull up these hidden slides. They would have the customers pushing all those buttons and getting physically involved into their PowerPoint presentation or their Engage presentation. PowerPoint's a sin on this. Into their Engage presentation, right? And that's the thing I love about it. It makes it entertaining. It holds their attention. So with the right sales training on how to ask those questions, keep the spotlight on them, and having the power of Engage, this whole thing can be so entertaining and so interactive that you can, you know, hold their attention for hours and not have them tune you out.
Yeah, and I have watched a sales appointment that Dom has hosted that was over an hour on Engage. It was very good. I enjoyed it. 8 seconds. It takes an audience 8 seconds to decide if they like your content or not. That's a shocking statistic. So it's, again, very important that you're introducing people to your content in a way that's accessible and active. Highly recommend using video for that because it's going to get people engaged very quickly.
That's the thing a lot of people don't understand is this whole sales encounter is super fragile, right? Because even when you first walk up to the house, before you even say a word, within a few seconds of them looking at you, they're making buying decisions on whether or not they could see themselves buying from you, right? Now, all these other things play a role. You know, if you open a horrible looking presentation that's super unprofessional, that has horrible visual aids, that is, you know, amateur in nature, and your salespeople aren't properly trained on how to utilize that presentation, yeah, I could see within a few seconds of listening to that and seeing that, it'd be like, this is a joke. We're not going to buy from this Yahoo.
Well, I'd say to piggyback on the statistic from earlier, the 57%, you know, people invest so much money in their branding up front. So you have this beautiful website, you know, the homeowner's expecting someone that's put together when they get there. So, you know, you spend all this money to maintain the front end, and then all of a sudden, you know, you got this guy showing up in sweatpants with some PDFs, printed up PDFs. You know, the homeowner almost feels like they got catfish. Like it was some sort of
binder.
Yeah, like it was a little bait and switch. So you have to maintain that branding and that beauty throughout the entire process, not just to suck them in, but through that entire sales process.
No, and you've seen that. So Cody's built presentations for some of our clients where they have decent branding on their website and stuff, but then he looks at their current presentations and literature, and it's not even the same branding, different logos, different color schemes, but the brand guidelines don't carry over, and the quality doesn't carry over to the in-home consultation. So that's something that's very, very important. If anything, the most impressive thing they should experience is that in-home presentation.
Yeah.
Because that's where you got them
captivated. Up to it,
yeah.
Not having people come down into it.
Yep.
And to go along with what Cody said, it takes 0.05 seconds for a customer to form an opinion about your brand. So it's so important that your brand is consistent across your website, your social media, your email communication, your print materials, your sales presentation. It needs to be consistent because customers are going to form an immediate opinion, and you don't know which piece of content they're going to see first necessarily. Maybe they find you first on Instagram and your Instagram looks really slick, but they go back to your website and it looks like it was made on a GoDaddy in 1997. That's not a great experience for a customer, and they're going to form a really snap opinion about your brand from seeing that material. You want it to be elevated.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things that make all the difference. I've seen a lot of presentations historically, and admittedly, these are maybe even ones that I've built because I'm very much an amateur when it comes to this stuff. But presentations where every slide is different font, every slide has different color schemes, different, like the logo's not there in front of their face, so that the whole branding is just non-existent once they get into the house. So that's something I'm learning a lot more, especially now with Cody at the helm of building these presentations, because he's very savvy with brand guidelines and making sure the font's all dress right dress and the logos are all consistent. But those are things a lot of people don't spend enough time thinking about, in my opinion.
Most definitely. So let's talk about elevating that customer communication. So a big part of what we talk about every single day at Engage is using high quality visuals and video. These two elements are going to increase your sales, and they're going to help to shorten your sales cycle. Now, this is super important in an even more competitive landscape, especially with the volume of leads going down today. You want to be able to make sure that you're getting to every single lead as quickly as possible and getting them booked in for an appointment as quickly as possible. You can do that more effectively by shortening that sales cycle. So we have some tips here, some stats based on research that's been done around graphics and visuals. So consumers remember 6 to 7 times more information from a memorable image or graphic versus verbal communication. So if you're a sales rep and you're in the home, you're meeting with a customer, and you are talking them through the installation process, they're not going to remember that as well as if you were able to show them a short video or graphic about the installation process and tell them what to expect that way. They'll have 6 to 7 better times recall on that information if you just present a visual versus verbally walking them through that content.
So this is why this topic right here is so important. And we're going to get more in depth on what we provide. So essentially, we work with Engage to build presentations for contractors all over the country. And then what we do at Grassi University is we take that sales team through each slide of their presentation and essentially demonstrate how to present that in the house exactly, right? So the salesperson has the slide, they have the graphic, the visual aid, and then they have the scripting essentially on how to present that in the house. And it's important that if you ever create a new presentation, whether it be on Engage or any other platform, that your sales team gets extensive and detailed training on how to use that presentation. Because you don't want guys in there reading off the freaking slides, not maintaining eye contact and making this conversation. That's just there as a visual aid to reinforce the content and the message that the sales rep's trying to get across. It's not there for the salesperson to read off of and to have the customer tune you out in 5 minutes, right? So that's an important element that we want to bring to the table. And if whether it's through us or you do it yourself, your salespeople need to be detailed in terms of their training on using that presentation the right way.
Speaking of that, using video. I know a big part of what you guys do is helping folks to create video content and be able to leverage that and train sales reps on how to use video in an appointment. If you present a video to a customer, they will retain 95% of that message versus 10% from a wall of text. There is almost nothing as impactful as that when you're having an in-home sales appointment. So being able to really, again, leverage that video content, leverage that interactivity, something that engages their brain, you're going to help them to retain your messaging and make a more informed decision.
Yeah, this is super important because one big skill set I train often is storytelling, right? And we all know that we've been watching movies. Let's say we're watching a Pixar movie, and I'm a grown-ass man, but yeah, watching a Pixar movie, I'm brought to tears somehow. Like at the end of
I mean, the first 5 minutes of Up, no one is held accountable for that.
Right, exactly. In the end, when obviously he's going through the photo album and stuff, that's a tearjerker. But the whole point is, what that does, it lights up the neurons of their brain like the 4th of July, and it keys to the emotional center of that limbic region of the brain when the customer is lost in story time. When you're telling a story, and that's what videos can do better than most salespeople, I'd say any salesperson, is if you make the video the right way and you make it emotional, you even have some music playing in the background, really tug on their heartstrings, you can ignite that emotional center of their brain, and it basically is the optimal way to hold a listener's attention by far.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this statistic blew my mind when I read it for the first time, but 74% of customers who watch an explainer video end up buying the product. So if you are not leveraging video to help customers understand your products and your process, you're literally leaving money on the table.
Yeah.
It is incredibly important that you explain products and concepts to customers in a way that's accessible to them, and video is a prime way to do that. What's great about having an explainer video as well is you can have it as part of your sales presentation, but you can also use it in other aspects of your marketing and sales funnel. So you can have that explainer video as part of your YouTube channel or your Instagram account or your TikTok, and you can also have it as part of your sales presentation. So really having this explainer content across the entire funnel.
Yeah, it's a very simple concept because human beings don't think in words, they think in pictures. And before any of your customers buy from you, there's two different movies they play in their mind, a positive and a negative movie. And the negative movie is, what are all the things that could go wrong if I make the incorrect decision by hiring this company? So that's one movie that plays in their mind kind of in the background. And the other movie that plays is the positive movie. What are all the wonderful things that could occur if I hire this company and have a great experience? So that's what these videos and these visuals allow for them to do is, it's kind of like pouring jet fuel on that positive movie in their mind. And what that does is it increases their excitement, their emotional attachment, but also reduces their fear of making that decision, which ultimately leads to the close being the natural conclusion, which is why you have a 74% number on this slide.
I think a big thing that hinders remodel companies there is the fact that they sit there and they wait and wait and wait for the manufacturers to put out this high production quality material. And not to like bring up any names, BCI, but that just doesn't, it doesn't happen. So even today, if you can't afford to bring in a professional video production company or Grasso, like just the quality of video on your own cell phone, buy a little $12 tripod and get that video, because it's, what a cell phone can do now was a cinema grade camera, 10 years ago.
Cheap GoPro.
Yeah. So it's
100%.
you cannot sit there and wait for whatever manufacturer you're working with to provide that content, because A, it's could take forever or it just won't happen, but B, it's always more powerful if it is your personal company, it's your employees with your branding on it.
Yeah, some of the best investments we made when I was leading my sales team here in Madison, Wisconsin, is we had a very professional company story. They gave that home already behind the scenes as to who are the key leaders of the company that they're going to be working with throughout the entire process. And it was very emotional. It was that human element of how we do business that separates us. And it allows them to picture not just the salesperson that's in front of them, but the whole company as a family and a wonderful place to work at. And then also having a very detailed installation video that was narrated by our production or our lead installer or our field manager, where they're walking a customer through step by step after they give us their hard-earned money, what is exactly going to take place on their project. And those two things alone had an instant boost in closing and retention, because it eliminated that buyer's that fear that they have of making that wrong decision, because they could see it unfold before their eyes how dialed in and professional we were.
So what are you going to do to my house fear?
Yeah,
alleviate that.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, I think we've really hit this point, but 90% of the information transmitted to the brain is visual, and 40% of people respond better to visual information than plain text. So really, as we've said, you're leaving money on the table if you're not using visuals in your sales presentation. If you're not using video and high quality images, you are giving your customers a reason to say no rather than helping them to say yes.
Awesome. Yeah, I do a little analogy about this, the fact that human beings think in pictures and not words. So picture you're golfing on a par 3 over water, right? So there's a par 3 over water, and in your mind, you may be telling yourself, don't hit it in the water, don't hit it in the water, don't hit it in the water. Now, every time I'm saying don't hit it in the water, what are you picturing, Pam?
I'm picturing it in the water.
In the water, splash, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, instead of saying that, because again, we think in pictures and you tend to gravitate towards the image that you're building, which is hit it in the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you say, okay, hit it on the green, hit it on the green, hit it on the green. But just in case, I better use an older ball, right? So it's just a funny little story, but that's the whole point, is the whole time you're picturing exactly what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I say the dog is not chasing the cat, the dog is not chasing the cat, there is no dog chasing a cat. What are you picturing?
Tom and Jerry, basically.
Right, exactly.
Except with a dog and a cat instead of a cat and a mouse.
There you go. So that's the whole point. That's the images. So we have the power to implant those images in our prospect's mind, and there's no better tool than visual aids and video.
100%.
Do you have a web browser in there?
A web browser?
Here on the TV on that?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Okay, so for example, if you think of like a chocolate chip cookie, I don't need any more chocolate chip cookies, but have you ever heard of the company Crumble Cookie?
Oh, they're amazing. Yeah, Crumbles Cookies.
Can you pull up their, like, this is probably the ultimate example of using video to, I mean, it's one of those, I have a teenage daughter who's obsessed with ridiculous stuff like Lululemon and Crumble Cookie. And when she was telling me about Crumble Cookie, I'm like, absolutely not. Went to the website, within 10 seconds, the visualization of said Crumble Cookie had me sold. The power of video is incredible.
Crumble Cookie?
Cookies. Yeah, that's, I feel like I just need to go get a box of cookies now.
Yeah, this is, and we can have,
oh boy.
but
So this is the Crumble Cookies
this is the,
site.
yeah.
Yeah, so their cookies, by the way, if you have a Crumble Cookies near you and you're questioning whether or not their cookies are worth it, they're worth every penny. They got some incredible flavors there.
Yeah.
It's literally like heaven on earth, every bite. But this is a prime example, right? So what are they doing? They're just throwing a bunch of amazing imagery and video content at you.
Yeah.
And just by watching this, Cody's like, we are driving there now, and there's nobody going to stop me.
But if you look at the entire head of their website, there's no physical text. There's nothing but really fantastic video of amazing looking cookies. So
that's a great example.
Yeah.
All right, Pam.
Cool. I think if we could just take it on, we'll take it to the next step. So from using all that video and using all those high quality images, now you need to connect with your customer. And that's a huge part of the sales presentation. And you may be saying to me, Pam, you're crazy. My sales presentation is the same content every single time. Yeah, you can create a personalized experience by the way that you present that content. And that's where the magic of great sales training comes into play. So customers want to feel like they're connected to your brand, both in the pre-sales process, but especially in that sales appointment. 80% of customers say that they think brands fail to understand them as individuals. So if you can be that brand that connects to them as an individual during the sales process, you are going to close that deal. You're going to win that sale and have a customer who keeps coming back to you. Additionally, 90% of customers say that they find personalization appealing. So again, if you're leaving out that personal touch, if your sales rep is not actively listening to what the customer is saying during that sales appointment and presenting your presentation in a way that feels personal to them because it's directly addressing their needs and is not leveraging your sales methodology and your sales training, you are leaving money on the table. You are disappointing homeowners. You're giving them a reason to say no instead of helping them to say yes. So personalization during the sales presentation is everything.
Yeah, we got a extensive training on the subject. One of my sales training associates, Corwin, he has a line that he learned from a mentor of his early in his life, and it says, if you want to make $1 million, you got to be a chameleon. Okay. Now you may say to yourself, that doesn't rhyme perfectly, Dominic, but the whole point is you got to adapt to your prospective client. And the good thing about Engage is it's actually structured in a way where you can tailor your presentation and rework it in a way where it's the most powerful for them. And also the way you explain all the content, make sure you tailor it for your audience. You're the one that has to flex your style. So we talk about strategies and tactics and all these things, but one thing that's not talked about enough is your style and your delivery of the message. And that's ultimately what we're talking about here. It needs to be tailored for your prospective buyer.
Definitely. And then finally, the last piece that I want to make sure that we talk about is about your reputation. Again, you may be saying, Pam, you're crazy. People are going to be looking me up on Google and they'll see my reviews there. Will they see the exact reviews that you want them to see on your Google reviews? Are they going to be looking up every place that you keep your reviews? Are they going to see the customer testimonials that you want them to see when they're at the point of making that decision? I don't know. So that is why it's important to have information about your reputation built into your sales presentation. It's important to talk about your success stories in your neighborhood. When you look at customers making purchase decisions, 77% of customers check product reviews before they make a decision. So if you are selling a product, or a service, it's really important that you put your best foot forward with having reviews out there, but that you also talk about your reviews in your sales presentation. People want to feel validated in their decision. They want to do what their neighbors are doing, what their peers are doing. If you can validate that in your sales presentation, you're more likely to win that sale.
I'm glad you brought that up. Do what your neighbors are doing, what their peers are doing. So that whole bandwagon theory is more powerful than people understand. So I don't know if you ever heard of the book Persuasion.
I have not.
So it's basically the stuff that happens before an agent of influence goes in to persuade them. There's persuasion that occurs. And there's a lot of ways we can persuade our clients. But essentially they did a study where they took 3 different towns, and their goal was to try to get as many people as possible to invest in energy conserving technologies and products for their home. All right. Some of the people watching this webinar maybe can relate to that. That's what we do when we sell windows or HVAC, energy conserving technologies, or solar, right? And there's 3 different ways they try to influence these people to invest in energy conserving technologies. One was, which a lot of people think is the most powerful, by investing in energy conserving technologies, it will save you money. It's good for your own personal economy. So that was one control group, so to speak, right? The second group was, by investing in energy conserving technologies, it's good for the environment. It's going to preserve our natural resources. It's good for climate. So that was the second one. The third one is, you should invest in energy conserving technologies because everybody else in your neighborhood is. And you don't want to be the only one that's not investing in energy conserving technologies. And as silly as it sounds, they had your own personal economy, the climate, and because everybody else is doing it, the town where they claimed that everyone in their neighborhood was investing in energy conserving technologies, and maybe they had a few case studies to back that up, they invested 3.5 times more money in energy conserving technologies than the other 2 groups did.
Wow.
So that's just an example right there, what you're just talking about. People do what other people are doing, bottom line. It's just the way our brains are wired.
Yeah, I think this supports that. 93% of customers said online reviews influence their decision at some point in the process. So if you don't have their neighbors as part of your presentation, if you're not talking about the work that you've done in their area, if you're not bringing up your reputation, you're just leaving money out there. You're helping people, again, to say no instead of getting them to yes.
When you talked about millennials, right? I mean, when we travel in Uber, what do? We look at the reviews of the driver. Look at what the pandemic did. People were buying everything online. You look at Amazon, you find the product or widget that you want. You look at all the 5,000 reviews. It's got 4.5 out of 5 stars. You're like, okay, I feel great about this decision. You read through a few of the top reviews there, and all of a sudden you feel comfortable. More than ever before, people are buying home improvements that way. Now, it's important that when you're in the house, I think all these stats are great for salespeople to know, because when you're in the house talking to John and Mary Smith, you want to bring this elephant in the room out on the table, so to speak. So I train my salespeople to bring right out in the open early on that homeowners are not buying home improvements the way they used to. So it used to be John and Mary where they would have 3, 4, 5, 6, a dozen companies come out here and give them their dog and pony show because there was no way possible for them to do their research otherwise. And I'm guessing, John and Mary, like most of our customers, the reason why we're even here talking to you is because you checked us out in advance, didn't you? And what were some of the things that you discovered about our company when you did your research ahead of time? What were some of the things that you found? And now you get the customers selling your company back to you, which is obviously a very powerful thing. So,
a win right
so we bring that to the forefront.
This was also a guy I used to sell with when I was at Mad City. I think it was John was his name.
Mm-hmm.
But he actually had a book, and this was pre-engaged. So he would take a picture with the homeowner and have him handwrite a testimonial. But this is something where if you're, a rep at a company that has engaged, I mean, you can start your own little presentation that are your personal testimonials. So before you leave that home, once you have that contract, that's you sitting in it. It doesn't have to be high production, just with your phone, record that homeowner. And that's a huge tool at closing. Because then not only do you have testimonials about the company that you work for, but when you get into closing, you're writing up the contract, then they're looking at actual homeowners that you've personally dealt with. So that's another great idea as well.
Yeah, one thing we're encouraging a lot of our clients to do is they should have a simple QR code that every salesperson has on them at all times, whether it be on the Engage slide or on a PDF form that just like a customer satisfaction survey, some sort of document. And before every salesperson leaves the house, they get the customer to scan that QR code and simply put their honest, unbiased opinion as to how their experience was with the in-home consultant. And that salesperson, as a result of that, is going to be able to compile dozens and dozens of reviews with their name in it. And those are the reviews I want my clients reading before I deliver price, right? All these people that bought from me and why, and they're saying all these great things about working with me personally, how I exceeded their expectations. That's a powerful thing we can do, and these are the little things that make all the difference.
Really is. Well, we have all this information now about, what the data is telling us, what the market's telling us, who the buyers are today. I would like to hand off to Cody so that I can learn from you, Cody, what actually is what's your formula for creating this masterful presentation? And you've had a lot of success with this at Grasso University, so I would love to pass off to you to learn something.
Awesome. Yes, I think kind of a little background here is my background is primarily in consumer goods, and what that taught me was packaging and appearance is everything. And then I was trained by this masterful trainer. This was years back at Mad City Windows. Honestly, when I sat down, I'm like, this isn't going to work, and it worked incredibly effectively well. So I sold for a while, and I think where the big disconnect is the fact that you have this beautiful sales process, but then you have an industry that is decades behind other industries as far as how they approach a homeowner or how they approach a consumer. So what we've done is we've kind of blended Dom's, his intellect and his sales process with, the mindset of approaching a consumer and how they like to buy and how they like to visualize. And we've paired those two to create a presentation that's going to, A, do everything that you need it to from a sales standpoint, but B, also look pretty and really engage that consumer. So
yeah, so when Cody got trained by me, this is our sales process, and that's the thing that a lot of people wonder is, okay, so I get this presentation made, now what exactly do we do with it, right? So we build every presentation, by we I mean Cody. He builds every presentation. This is why it's great that he has the real world in-home sales experience. He's sold in the home following this Grasso sales methodology, trained by myself, right? So you get the best of both worlds. You get an unbelievably visually compelling presentation, but it also follows our proven 11-step sales methodology. And that's important that you have that roadmap to the sale, so then success is repeatable, duplicatable. You wouldn't believe how many clients we have coming to us where they have 10, 20, 30 plus salespeople that are doing it 30 different ways. There's no structure, there's no foundation for that sales division. So that's one of the great things that we provide. So we got this beautiful technology with Engage, right? And then clients come to us, they're like, okay, Engage is the shiznizzle, but now what? Now what do we do? So we work with Engage and with that client to basically insert their products and services into our sales process. And that's what Cody is amazing at, is his discovery, his intelligence gathering, all the information that he gets from these clients. He puts it right into our template, so to speak, our sales methodology. And also, right here, the formula of a masterful presentation. I just want to talk about this briefly, and I'm going to turn it back over to Cody. Anytime we're building a presentation, these are the bullet points that we want to make sure we're checking throughout that presentation. One is differentiation. We want to make sure that our presentation is robust in differentiation. So it's differentiating, of course, visually, how professional we are. Just having Engage is going to differentiate you from the guy using a 3-ring binder or a PowerPoint, right? But also your company. What's unique and different about your company? If I can get a similar service down the road from somebody else, why on earth would I buy from you? So what makes you different? Because we know that price only becomes a determining factor when you fail to differentiate. Now, it's not enough just to differentiate, because the customer is always in WIIFM mode. They're always asking you, yeah, I see that your company's great, but what's in it for me? Or I see your product's unique, but what's in it for me? Why do I care? because they're not at all buying what your company product or service is. They're buying what it does. They're buying the features and benefits, the lifestyle enhancement. Remember, this is an emotional sale. So after we differentiate, I think I spelled differentiate wrong, didn't I? Oh well. And then WIIFM, we want to make sure we're price conditioning. So whenever Cody builds a presentation for a client, we have extensive price conditioning built into that presentation right off the gate. And that's more important than ever before. How much have your prices gone up in the last 12 months? I know client or companies, contractors that have had to raise their prices 40, 50% in the last 12 months. If your salespeople don't know how to build value and price condition, how the hell are you going to get the proper margin for your product or service? So that's all built in right away. This is the foundation, right? Now, of course, trial close. So what a trial close is, it's the homeowner committing to you one of two things. Either they would never accept a company product or service without what you're selling, or that's definitely something they would require if and when they do it. So a lot of times Cody will build in those trial close commitments into the presentation to make it literally foolproof. It's like a total paint by numbers system. As long as the salesperson follows the right color and the right number, they can walk out with a predictable outcome more often than not, right? And then of course, last but not least is exclusivity. Now, even if you offer a similar or the same product to somebody else, what we're going to spend a lot of time doing is figure out what makes you unique, gives you a unique value proposition, and what makes you exclusive. And that's one of the gifts about our industry that we have is we're installing an unfinished good more often than not. So there's always going to be opportunity and ammunition for you to be exclusive and give that prospect, that prospective homeowner, an exclusive experience. So I just wanted to kind of outline this, and obviously Gross University, Cody, all of our mutual understanding, even Engage at this point, they probably know as much about the sales process here at Grosso than a lot of people. We're able to take all this information, essentially do all the heavy lifting for you, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, Cody?
I know what you're saying.
So that's where we're going to get into the slide here, this presentation, just to kind of go over. When Cody builds a presentation, what is essentially the format? What's the step-by-step? What are some of the first things we do? So if I'm a Mr. Contractor, Cody,
yeah,
and I first start talking to you, what does that process look like?
I mean, usually it involves a pretty detailed exploration call where we'll figure out product knowledge, gather all the information that they currently have, figure out where the gaps are that they need filled. A lot of times there are quite a few gaps because there's just not, the video content. A lot of times we can do our best at Grosso to put that together for them. But essentially, it's a lot of our clients that come on board are familiar with the sales process. So it's a matter of, how do we take the sales process and then put it into a, nicely packaged presentation. And not everybody, when we sold, we were in the home for about 3 hours at Mad City. Mm-hmm. There's companies that are not, they don't follow the 3-hour timeline. So a lot of it is adapting, you have to customize everything to that specific company.
Yeah, depending on the size of your average ticket. If your average sale is $3,000, you don't want to be in the house for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Right. So now we have a state of the industry segment here. So what's that all about?
So the state of the industry is really it's not necessarily to scare the homeowner.
Yeah, it is.
It's maybe a little bit, but it's a scary industry. So what we want to do is make them aware of how shitty, some things are in this industry. Like it is and there's thousands of dollars on the line with every one of these projects. So it's something that it's, some people say it's not a good to use scare tactics. Well, it's not good to just completely, not inform them of how the dangers of the home remodeling industry.
So the whole point is, this is a fear they already have when you get there, okay? And instead of just trying to skirt around it or tiptoe around it, we hit that fear head on and we bring it to the forefront. And if anything, we actually make it even greater, the fear of making the wrong decision. Because whether we like it or not, fear of loss is twice as powerful as hope of gain. So what we need to do is educate them that if they make their decision on price and price alone, and God forbid trust their home to the wrong contractor, the devastation that can occur is going to far exceed spending a little bit more initially to get it done right the first time by a professional. So that's essentially the picture we're painting here. And the good news is the home improvement industry has so many issues because it's totally fragmented. Even with the consolidation occurring, then it makes it easy for us to educate them on this subject, right? And that's what Cody spends a lot of time doing is a lot of the stats in here. Like, what is that one with we're number 2 in complaints, but restaurants are number 1, but there's twice as many restaurants as contractors, but there's just, the stats are unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not you telling them. This is when we go back to visuals, and is because when you see an image with an industry or a BBB or a CFA or an organization that consumers are aware of, when they see that image with those statistics, it's more powerful than if I were to tell them that. So that's when it gets to that presentation, and you can involve graphics and videos, of those logos that are putting out those studies. It becomes very important.
Yeah, third-party reinforcement, and with Engage, you can even have it linked right to the website of whatever organization or whatever website you're talking about. Now, in this stage, the state of the industry, a very deliberate strategy that we employ here is we want the homeowner to open up to us about any bad experience they've had with a contractor in the past. Because I guarantee if you don't get them to open up about that here, where that's going to come out is in the close as a hidden objection. So you're going to go to try to earn their business, you're going to throw the price on the table, and they're going to say something to the effect of, last time we hired the first contractor that came into the house, we got burned, and we're never going to do that again. We're going to do our research, we're going to get 8,500 quotes, and we never make it. Then all of a sudden you hit a wall, right? So by bringing this out in the open early on and empathizing with them, and then obviously tailoring your company's story to the effect of this is why we do business the way we do, because contractors like that do exist, we're not hiding it, then all of a sudden you're on their side, right? And we get them even to admit that hindsight's 2020, if they could have invested a little bit more initially to eliminate that devastating experience, they obviously would have done so. And the way we get that question out of them is, John and Mary, I can't help but notice, looks like a few things have been updated in the house. The house is looking great. Have you had a good experience so far with the contractors you've trusted your home to? Now, there's 2 paths they can take. Most people will say, oh, don't even get me started, and then they start venting about this horrible contractor, right? However, if they had a good experience, let's say they had a perfect experience, right? I want to get out of them what exactly made that such a world-class experience. So if the customer had a bad experience, they're going to basically tell you what they don't want and the things you need to focus on and highlight in your company story. If they had a great experience, they're going to tell you what made that a great experience and essentially tell you how to sell them. So no matter which path they take, it's an advantage for you and it's good information because it's going to help you tailor your message to be the most effective. But the state of the industry is so important, and you can't be afraid to bring that, shine a spotlight on it. So next we got the overall company story. So after we say how bad the industry is, we want to take that contractor, that dealer, and shine a spotlight on them and share what are the things they're doing to go the extra mile to give that homeowner a good experience. Yeah. So how does that process take place where they put together their own personalized company story?
So a lot of people have this, it's fragmented and it's everywhere, but it's taking all the information that you've compiled about your company, whether it's your reviews from Google, Facebook, Home Advisor, Angie, customer testimonials, everything that you've done to establish yourself to get to where you are now. So your insurance certification, it's literally taking all the things that are going wrong in the industry and providing evidence that this is why you're not going to have that experience when you're with us. So how we just do a quick discovery again, and it's anything that you can do to possibly up your reviews, that's great. Testimonials are huge. But yeah, it's just a matter of, if you're not licensed and insured, get licensed and insured. You're probably not going to be dealing with us if you're not. But yeah, it's just compiling all that information that is already out there and organizing it in a way that's going to walk that homeowner through. Okay, this is at the end of this section. You should feel 100% safe that we're the right company for this project.
Now, what does a contractor do? Because one thing we talked about earlier with Pam is it's a good idea for you to invest in video, right? Mm-hmm. So what does a contractor do if they don't have a really polished, put together company story video that they can show consistently? Who are you going to call?
You're probably going to call Browse University, I think. Yeah. We have a man by the name of Brett Naples and a man by the name of Brett Hill. We call him Brett Squared.
We have 2 Bretts. We're very original here.
They're incredibly good at what they do. And they could do full-on company story video, install videos, all of that.
So I'll explain the package. This is the most popular one that our clients want. Okay, so we do a company story video, and it's an emotional, heartfelt video. We'll interview some of the key leaders of your team, maybe even a few sales representatives, so the homeowner can kind of pull back the curtain and get a good behind the scenes feel and look as to who you are as a family, right? And we want to make it a very family oriented type video. We're also going to do installation videos, whether it be a time lapse or a fully narrated install video of your primary product or service you want installed, so the homeowner can see all the differences that you're describing visually in a video format, step by step, and that's going to allow them to play a positive movie. We also do consumer testimonials. So whatever installation we're filming, we also take that homeowner and we get them to agree to do a testimonial after the job's completed. And because it's fresh in their mind, the emotions are running high, these testimonial videos are always very, very powerful. And then last but not least, a lot of our clients ask for a recruiting video. So a recruiting video that you can use to acquire new and great talent, new employees, is a hiring tool for you. So when you look at all these different tools, you can basically embed all of that stuff into Engage. And that's essentially what we show clients, our contractors, our sales professionals, is how do you present that company story the right way? When and how do you show the installation videos, the testimonial videos, and how can we most effectively use that recruiting video to acquire new talent? But that stuff, this is why we love Engage, because it's the platform that allows us to put all that stuff in there. And that's just another layer to this Masterful presentation that Cody's talking about.
Yeah, and each homeowner is going to be different. So each homeowner is going to have their hot buttons. And that's a beautiful thing about Engage, is you can kind of pivot to those hot buttons. And if there's somebody that's super detail oriented and they want to know what every single certification is, well, you can pop right to those certifications. And if they're just like, well, that's cool, you guys are really good at what you do, you have a lot of certifications, then you just bypass it. So you have the ability to really hone in and actively listen, as you discussed earlier, Pam, to that homeowner and find those triggers and then just pounce on them. Yeah, and that's a big part of this company story, is they might not, lead safety cert, for example, is like a 50-50 thing. I mean, there's people that have it, they don't even want it in their presentation. But there's people that will, put the fear of God in a homeowner because of lead, because of the dangers of lead. And it's all over the map. So it's really, the presentation is a tool. So you take your active listening, you find, what's important to that homeowner, and then you use this as the tool to really dig into those areas.
Yeah, and this is where the sales process comes in, right? So you do the differentiation, you explain how your company is unique. You explain what's in it for them, right? So again, we're insured, a lot of people are not. Here's what's in it for you to have an insured contractor. Here's the peace of mind you get. And then we price condition. Well, I don't know if you're aware of this, John and Mary, but 30% of an installer's wage could go towards insurance. So literally, we could save you 30% off our labor simply by sacrificing that one thing that's important to you. But let me ask you a question. Putting price aside, is that ever something you would sacrifice to save money? Or is it worth you to invest a little bit more for a professional to get that insurance, that peace of mind? There's one thing we can't put a price on. So you can kind of see the formula working itself through. And at the end of my company story, one of the big trial close commitments we get is, John and Mary, are there any other questions you have about Grass University I can answer for you? Let me ask you another question. This is most important for me. If I can demonstrate a product you absolutely love, and we can exceed your expectations on affordability, would we have earned the right to ask for your business? So your company story should be so damn powerful and key to their emotions, where you can literally flat out ask them right then and there, if we can show you a product you love, exceed your expectations on affordability, would we have earned the right to ask for your business? And you should be able to get a handshake commitment right then and there. And that's essentially closing the doors. So you're funneling it down to affordability is the only thing standing in the way. And that's what the right company story is going to do for you. Now, of course, moving on, we always, when we build a presentation, we have an industry options section. So essentially, it's educating the homeowner on what other options available to them other than our product. And we want to fulfill their desire to shop around. So when you're going through this segment, Cody, I guess, let's say I'm selling windows or siding or roofing, how do we build out an effective evolution segment of their presentation?
Yeah, I mean, being in the industry, I think everybody knows what the alternatives are to the product they're selling. And if you don't, you should. But it's one of those things where everybody's going to be curious. And if they're not curious, you still want to make sure that they're definitely not curious. Because this is one of those the one-sit close, you can't have questions at the end of that appointment. You can't leave a little bit of a desire, well, maybe I want to check out a metal roof, or maybe I want to check out, Anderson windows, whatever it might be. You have to have it so honed in on your solution, and in order to do that, you have to talk about other products. Because if you don't, and they're just not acknowledged at all, then those what ifs are going to remain in their head. So really the evolution section is really designed to say, look, we understand that as a consumer, you should be doing your due diligence and looking at what else is out there. And the benefit and kind of the hindrance of the internet is that a lot of them have. I mean, there's a reason why you're there, as we discussed earlier, but you still want to go over those, and make them aware, because it's comforting to them, because it's you telling them about other products that aren't your own, which if it's done in the right way is a very soothing thing to that homeowner.
Yeah, so one of the least common objections you should get, and it may not seem like it, but it's the honest to God truth, is shop around.
Mm-hmm.
If you're constantly getting shop around, that means there's a huge component of your salesperson's presentation is lacking, and often related to the industry options, because that's essentially what we're trying to do, is fulfill that prospect's desire to look at alternatives to what I'm selling, right? So the whole goal is to funnel down to our product or nothing. So one line I always love when I train salespeople to ask them, there's a couple questions, and this tees up evolution perfectly, is John and Mary, let me ask you a question. How much money would you be willing to spend on a new product or service for your home that does not solve your problems? And I put strong emphasis on does not, right? And they kind of look at you like, what a ridiculous question, right? And that's the way you want them to look, because it is a ridiculous question, right? They would spend, well, no amount of money. I couldn't agree more, John Marie. That's what everybody tells me. And let me ask you a question. How long would you want those problems solved for? Just initially or permanently? Like, well, permanently, Dominic. We don't want to have to do this again. I'm glad you told me that. And everybody says the same thing, John and Mary. And one thing I just want to plant the seed for is, as we're going through the different options available to you, because one thing we like to do is take you on a little shopping spree, ask yourself that question. Does that sound like a true permanent solution to my problems? Because you said it yourself. If it doesn't, how much is that worth to you? Nothing, is it? So that's what we want to shine a light on, is what are the alternatives, what options are available, and what is truly the permanent solution that's going to give you a lifetime of enjoyment. So that's great to tee up your evolution that way, because now the homeowner is more concerned about the problems your solution's solving, more so than the price. And that's the state of mind I want them set in the entire time, throughout the entire sales encounter, right? Is they're more concerned about problems they're solving. Of course, affordability is always a factor, but not price. If you follow the system the right way, you are not there to win the bidding war with Chuck in a truck. You should not be a low-price competitor. You shouldn't even care. You're there to provide a superior service, world-class experience, permanent solution to the problems at a fair and affordable price. Affordability is the only thing really that matters if it fits into a budget. So that's why we have the whole time we're laser focused on affordability. And Cody, I mean, you've experienced this, but I've even had it where people say, man, this sounds like it's going to be expensive. And I say, you can relax, John and Mary, because actually affordability is the easy part. That's actually one of our best features.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't say price. I said affordability, which is totally different. So very important that you have that built out. Now, we don't want to badmouth the competition, obviously. We don't want to lose all our credibility. This is a very educational segment. We're just educating them on the reality. Now, one thing I want to emphasize here is if you have a really beautiful evolution segment on your Engage presentation, you should also have with you physical samples of those products. So whatever I'm selling against, I made it my personal mission as a sales leader to provide my team with physical samples of everything they're selling against, because I want to engage all of their senses. So those are the things that are going to get that message across. When they can see what I'm talking about, they can see it in front of them, seeing is believing, they can touch it, they can feel it. And they themselves, if you do this right, they're going to kill it for you. They're a lot of times going to kill the alternatives of what you're selling for you, which makes your job a lot easier. So.
Yeah, and even to take that one step further, you should have, and the beautiful thing about Engage is you could have a pop-up for a kill kit, right aside. So if you're on like a wood window section, for example, you could have a competitor, an actual quote from one of your local competitors, You know, if your company hasn't established that as a rep, call them. You know, come in, sit through the 3-hour meeting, have them drop retail, and then snatch it before they do any discounting, and start compiling those.
Yeah, so it's a kill book.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You eventually have a kill book, because it's, you know, if there's like Dom said, we don't sell on price, but there's really, you know, it's a lot easier to justify, you know, even if it's $5,000 more your product. They then have that, you know, that gap that you have to make up for, which is incredibly easy to do with an effective presentation.
Yeah, so at the point when I was a sales leader where I had like 30, 40 reps, I got the owners to agree to give the sales reps one Saturday off. That's all it took, one Saturday off, and we gave them an assignment instead of a lead. The assignment was, you are to get an estimate from every competitor in your marketplace, right? So we essentially divide and conquer. Every salesperson's getting 1 or 2 estimates on a Saturday. And then before you know it, we have 30, 40 different prices and proposals and warranties and brochures from every competitor in our market. So now what you have is an amazing engaged presentation that has the visual aids, you have the physical sample of the product or service, and you have real pricing proposals and warranties. So that makes the whole thing tenfold, very educational in nature, and the homeowner can essentially sell against that for you. But I think that's worth its weight in gold if you can have all the information from all your competitors. Whoever you're the most common to run into, whoever's your biggest arch nemesis, we all have one, get them to come into your house and give you a proposal, give you an estimate, and acquire all that stuff for your kill book. So when you pair the presentation, evolution with a kill kit and a kill book, shop around should almost never come up as an objection, very rarely, if you do it the right way.
Yeah.
So that's evolution. Of course, Cody, the best presentation in the world, or the best close in the world, is a masterful product presentation. And I can't emphasize this enough. I see a lot of weakness in the home improvement industry pertaining to the product demo. You need to make that product walk on water. Like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, literally the most amazing solution to their problems they could ever dream of. I see salespeople that don't bring in samples, physical samples of their product, whether it be windows or roofing or siding, and they're not getting the homeowner physically and mentally involved. So what are some of the things that we aim to do in the visual engaged product presentation, where it's kind of like the outline for that salesperson? It's like, if you follow this outline, you're going to deliver that presentation consistently every time.
Yes, I always think back to Windows. When I sold Windows, there was a, why am I blanking the screen name out?
Memory mesh.
Memory mesh. So if there's a kid in the house, I'd immediately grab a pen and I'd say, you know, take this pen and stab it through the, you know, the screen. And it was probably one of the most impactful things that I did in a demo.
Yeah.
Heat lamp, but this is once again, I think to back up a little bit here, there's so many owners that I talk to that they personally do not understand what's separating their product from the competition. You know, they know a few bullet points from what they've seen on literature, but that's about as far as it goes.
So I want to piggyback on that. I've literally had conversation with owners and sales leaders where they are saying our product is the same as everybody else's, okay? So if you believe that and you're preaching that to your salespeople, no wonder they can't close the freaking door with the wind behind them, right?
Yeah.
So you have to put your company, your product, and service up on a pedestal. And instead of just settling for it's the same as what everybody else has, you need to figure out a way to make that product sizzle so freaking hot that it's like red hot when you're in the house, right? And that's what we do, is we help people sell their own freaking product by talking through what exactly is it about the way the product's made, the way they install it, all the features and benefits that make it unique in nature. And then in the masterful presentation, we can expound on that and really shine a spotlight on that, and it comes off very, very impressive. It's all about your value proposition. So if you go to the house and that's your belief, yeah, same as everybody else, you're not going to have a lot of success influencing others in the direction you want them to go.
Yeah, and if you look at how, like, I was just building an Owens Corning presentation, and I think their Duraflex poly shingle.
SBS.
Yeah, so essentially, you know, instead of showing like actual ASTM testing, they literally have a guy that's just sitting there whacking the shit out of golf balls into it.
Yeah,
you know,
hitting golf ball, put it in a freezer.
Yeah, then they put it in a freezer. So the reason for that is not necessarily that it's, you know, that it's it has no correlation to the actual testing itself, but visually, from a human standpoint, you know, it's entertaining to watch, and it's easier for them to be like, oh, holy shit, he just hit a 3-iron at that and barely left a dent. Yeah. So it's taking stuff like that where if you can get so creative with your product and how you demonstrate it, and then you can combine that creativeness with your actual presentation, and no one's doing it, and that's kind of the big thing.
But and that's stuff we're willing to do with dealers as well. Is we'll go as far as helping you create a more robust product presentation, right? And what we offer as a service, because this is the whole thing. A lot of people are afraid to take the leap and have this masterful, engaged presentation created because, first of all, they themselves may not know how to train it to their team. They may not know all the little elements of what makes this a masterful product presentation. So when I mentioned earlier the heavy lifting, we do all that for our clients. So Cody builds these presentations, and I take their whole sales team through, either me or my associate, Dan Coombsbury, and we show them exactly how to cover each one of these slides, how to do the window demo. When I do window trainings, for example, I have an actual window sample with me, and I'm taking it through step by step, going through the slides, how you demonstrate the window with the customer, with the prospective client. So your salespeople have all that information, and then we record that training. So that's a permanent training and onboarding tool you have forever after to grow your sales division. So you have literally the roadmap to your sale right in front of you. And several of our clients, what we've even done is we take our 160-page Bible of in-home selling. This is literally your roadmap to the sale. And we actually take screenshots of every slide, every engaged slide, and we put them in the book with the script on what to say. So when I'm talking about the best salespeople are not born out of the womb, they're made, this is how you build a sales army, is you literally make it foolproof. And with Engage and with Grassi University and with Cody, with our Jumpstart program, all the things combined, it literally makes it foolproof. So even just going in and half-assing it, so to speak, even if they're not the most polished, they're going to come out with a close far more often than not, just as a result of the tools they have. And what a confidence booster. How much more confident is your sales team when they go into the home with this ammunition, right? And what belief do they now have in the company they represent when the company's making the investment and all this high-level professional content for them to use? And it sets them apart from every other truck in a truck in the market, right?
Yeah, it does. And I think another beautiful thing, too, is that the market is constantly changing. So if you were to look at, start of COVID, everybody is spending money on home remodeling projects like crazy. They're stuck in their home. Now all of a sudden a gallon of milk is $27 and you can't buy a carton of eggs for less than $12. So that customer mindset is constantly adapting and changing. And to have the ability, if you print something 3 years ago, a lot of that information is going to be completely irrelevant now. So if you're sitting there going into a home with outdated information, you lack credibility. And people do not have a tolerance for outdated information these days because they're used to everything right now. So that's a huge thing. Once these masterful presentations are created, it's not done. It's never done. It will evolve constantly with your company as you grow and you acquire more certifications, as you pivot to present in a different way. So yeah, that's what's
great about Engage. You update a slide or you change a fact or figure, it automatically updates it for every salesperson in your organization. Mm-hmm. And we didn't even get into the analytics, but so you create all this content, all this beautiful stuff for your sales team, and you have full transparency and visibility as to who's showing the slides, who's not, how much time are they spending on the slides. So accountability is there if you're trying to command and lead your sales team. So you have everything you need right at your disposal there, but we just wanted to kind of break down how exactly does that process take place. And of course you see on this slide, we do a lot of installation videos. This is me doing a Shingle Magic install video, but that's just a prime example. So the customer gets to see me up there rejuvenating their roof, making their dreams come true, how easy it is, how professional the whole experience will be. And that takes that fear and it puts it down to almost nothing. So then when you deliver that total investment over, it's that much easier for you to go in for the assumptive close. And that's really the name of the game. Now, a lot of things we do for clients too, aside from these masterful engaged presentations, is we essentially have a whole suite of products that we create for our clients. So I can't believe that there's still companies that don't do a survey. So they literally sit down and they don't do a discovery at all. And I always say, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there, right? So we train salespeople not only how to navigate the survey, but we help companies and clients create their own master survey for their specific products or services they offer. And we can put all that stuff right into Engage. You can have it Engage be the repository for all these documents, these PDFs, all these things. So if you want to do it on paper, you can, or you could even do it as an editable PDF, a digital version. Now, for me, the survey was a good accountability tool as well, because I get a lot of salespeople that would claim, yeah, I did everything I was supposed to, Dominic. I followed the sales process. And I say, okay, great, let me see your survey. And the survey was blank. It looked like this, right? None of the stuff was filled out. So that right there tells me the salesperson did not do what they were supposed to because they didn't have any clue on how to properly present their product. So this is where we take them through their presentation, their survey, their needs assessment. We show them exactly how to ask the questions, make this a conversation, not an interrogation, keep the spotlight on the prospective homeowner.
It's also a great opportunity. So you should have, we focus a lot on getting, pictures of the project after it's completed. But you should have your production crew, if you're going in and you notice all these problematic areas, get pictures of those. So then when reps phone out a survey and, they say mold around the window. Well, now you had 4 houses ago, you had this window that was just insanely bad. You can say, okay, you have a little bit of this, check this house that we just did. That's what that's going to turn into. So it's the beauty of being able to house all of this information in a centralized location and to be able to navigate through it, flawlessly is it's an amazing thing that just didn't exist.
Okay. And aside from Gross University, going back to you, Pam, so now customer support or any technical issues, technology issues. So now, what are some of the back end things that Engage, and I don't want to say Engage is the back end, they're the front end, the back end, they're your wingman or wingman the whole time. So what are some of the things they can expect from a customer service standpoint with Engage? Some of the things that you guys take care of for them?
Yeah, so if you work with both Engage and Gross University, you get a really kind of symbiotic experience as part of your onboarding and also as part of your ongoing support. So not only are you getting a Masterful presentation that's been worked on by Cody and has all that methodology baked into it, but you do also get support from the Engage onboarding team. So we really didn't get into a lot of the sales enablement functionality of the Engage platform. But we do have those great sharing tools that Dom talked about, and we also do have all those rich analytics. We don't expect that you will know how to deal with the analytics out of the box. We are here to help walk you through just some of the best practices related to analytics. And actually, Dom's feedback has been key in helping us to build out additional features in our analytics suite. So we now offer heat mapping, we offer pivot tables, we offer all different kinds of charts so you can slice and dice the data in a ton of different ways to be able to see the information that you're looking for. So our team is there to help with folks getting set up, helping them to set up the reports they're looking for and set up just the views that will help them out as sales leaders. And we do have a full support team. Everybody gets a customer success manager. They get access to our team to be able to help them out with support issues, questions, or if they just want to, see what other people are doing. And we did recently just roll out a content marketplace where folks can go in and browse all different kinds of presentations that have been created by our team and maybe get inspired.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot you can learn from all that. And of course, at the end of this webinar, we're going to open it up for some Q&A. But just kind of recap some of the things we talked about. All trends are pointing to you making the investment in a really professional and polished Masterful presentation, because that's the way people buy. That's the way human beings are wired to make decisions. So if you're still using the old 3-ring binder or a PowerPoint presentation, definitely reach out to Engage. Between them and Gross University, we can literally take you to a different universe of performance. And a lot of people have heard me say this, Pam, and I'm not exaggerating. The first year that I introduced Engage to my sales team grew by $19 million in business that year. Now, obviously, there's a lot of things that occurred to get there, But I can tell you for certain that one of the big things that improved the confidence and performance of the team was this new Masterful presentation. It made such a phenomenal difference. So 19 million in 1 year, right? Now, it's not enough though just to have a presentation, right? Because a lot of people are wondering, I get this presentation, now what? What do I do with it? I don't know how to use it. I've never used it before. How are my sales team going to get the coaching? So that's why this partnership between Engage and Grasso is so important, is because Engage can get you all onboarded. They can give you all the information on how to use the technology, how to make it dance. And then Grasso University literally takes you through step by step, and we can show you how to build that presentation exactly for your products and services, obviously using our proven sales methodology, our sales process. And then after this masterful presentation is created by Cody, then myself or my associates, we take your whole sales team through step by step and train them exactly how to use the presentation in the home. You're going to get that on record. You're going to have that recording. You can use that forever after as a training and onboarding tool. I like to refer to as lane assist for your team. So you have full accountability. There's no excuses. And instantaneously, you have a sales platform, a foundation to grow a sales army. Mm-hmm. So that's really what it's all about. The ROI on this, I mean, we had people literally within a few months have realized millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars in increased revenue, depending on the size of their organization. I had one client that the month before he used the presentation did $300,000, and then the following month with the sales process and the training it was $600,000. Literally doubled their sales performance with the same salespeople. Now, of course, that's not always going to be the case, but we can guarantee that you're going to see an instantaneous boost in your sales efficiency and performance, and you're going to see an instant boost in the confidence of your team. That's really what it's all about. So Pam, I just want to kind of leave it the last few words. So if people want to get set up with Engage or want more information, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so the best way to get in contact with our team is to head to sales@engage.io or hit up our website, engage.io, and that's engage with an I-N. It's a combination of interactive and engage. Engage.io, and you can
she just made that.
Our website, get a demo. We do have a special promotion for anybody who is interested in signing up with us based on this conversation today. If you sign a new annual contract with us before December 15th of this year, you'll actually receive 20% off your first year of a new annual subscription. So as Don was saying, if you implement Engage, we generally do see some pretty radical results. Most of our customers are seeing somewhere between a 7 to 10 point increase in close rates when they implement Engage. And we're going to give you 20% off that first year if you sign up before December 15th.
Then, Cody, if they want to get more information on building a presentation, what's the best way to contact you?
Best way to contact me is C. Henson at Grasso University. Otherwise, you could also click the link in the chat box. That'll bring you right to a landing page explaining a little bit more about the Jumpstart program and all the collateral that goes with it.
Yeah, and what we'll do is we'll leave a few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes open after this live recording. We always do a pre-recording to make sure that the viewers have a really clean and beautiful experience. But we will do some live Q&A. In case there's any other questions they have, we want to get those answered. So thank you, Pam. Thank you, Cody. It was a lot of great information. And at some point, I'll get to hear that opera singing. You'll have to let me know when we can. But I appreciate tuning into this webinar, Grasso University. Hopefully you took some good notes. And of course, as always at Grasso University, yes, you are a closer. Now go get that presentation. You deserve it.